For example, I've seen you on TV a lot in the last couple of years. I know everything you know or that you tell us about the Russian situation. I don't have a clue what you think about healthcare. I've never heard it.
Yeah. I
don't know whether you're for Medicare for all or improve Obamacare or get a chicken. I don't know what.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, how do we help you get this done? Not how do we put more obstacles in the way? I haven't forgotten about your roof. All of that is important to keeping.
And my pot store.
And what?
And the pot store, the Woods that I own with Woody Harrelson. It's just the biggest problem we had was the government of California.
Bill Maher has clashed with Schiff before. And let's be real, it was never friendly. Schiff represents hardline woke politics, while Maher is known for tearing that mindset apart, right to your face. So when these two share a stage, you already know the vibe. Awkward silences, sharp punches, and undeniable tension. Hit subscribe, sit back, and let's jump straight into the showdown.
Statement from the administration. The president had the constitutional authority to direct the use of military force because he could reasonably determine that such use of force was in the national interest. That's too vague for you?
Totally vague.
Okay, because that's from Obama about Libya.
Maher didn't just challenge Schiff. He set a perfect trap. He read a statement about Libya and then asked, "Is that too vague?" Schiff instantly responded, "Yes, totally vague." But he didn't see it coming. Those weren't Trump's words, they were Obama's. The moment Maher revealed it, everything changed. You could literally see Schiff freeze as the double standard was exposed in real time.
TV productions continue to move out of California due to tax incentives in other states. What might the future look for Los Angeles? Is there a risk of it becoming the next Detroit?
I don't agree with the diagnosis of why the film industry is leaving. They're leaving because they're getting richer incentives in other states and other countries. And we haven't kept pace with that. So if you want to film in the United Kingdom, you're going to get a tremendous tax break. And our motion picture industry has left the country. If you want to film in New York or Georgia, there are generous tax incentives. If we want to keep the industry here, we're going to have to compete with tax incentives. California has started.
Hollywood isn't leaving California for fun. It's running from the cost. And yes, taxes play a huge role. People in the industry openly complain about it. This isn't a mystery. Sure, places like Georgia and the UK offer incentives, but the real issue is simple. California has become insanely expensive to film in. So expensive that even Europe starts looking like a bargain.
Every year, California loses people because they are being driven away by a high-tax, high-regulation state where public services don't reach the standards that they should. That should be a signal that we shouldn't have one favored industry or another. We should have a favored state. California to become.
And here's the striking part. Before Maher even fully jumps in, the criticism is already obvious. California has been losing businesses and residents for years. Why? High taxes, heavy regulations, and endless red tape. Maher has been hammering this point forever. So, why does Schiff keep framing it as just an incentives issue? Because that sounds a lot better than admitting the system itself is failing.
About your roof, all of that is important to keeping.
And my pot store.
And what?
And the pot store, the Woods that I own with Woody Harrelson. It's just the biggest problem we had was the government of California.
I imagine your producers are saying, "Oh God, I can't believe Schiff brought up his roof."
Yeah, I mean, we love it here. We want to live here. The West Coast has the sunshine and the girls all get so tan. I don't know how I can, but we just gotta.
California needs to become business-friendly again, and that starts at the top with leaders like Gavin Newsom and allies like Schiff. For years, people have watched costs skyrocket while politicians kept insisting everything is fine. But it's not fine. Housing is out of control. Families can't afford to live there. Taxes remain high, regulations stay tight, and growth becomes harder by the day. Combine expensive housing with crushing taxes and suffocating bureaucracy, and people leave. Businesses leave too. If California wants to stay competitive and keep its talent, It needs real reform, lower costs, smarter policies, and leaders willing to admit things aren't working.
I don't agree with the UK's proposal to impose a social media curfew for kids. How realistic is it to enforce? One night suggesting I was going to open a place called Bill Maher's Catholic School. Let me finish. Because Catholic schools are popular now, even with people who aren't Catholic. It's the last place you can send your kid to get an old school education. And they just tell the kids, forget about the Jesus stuff. Just, to them, that's okay indoctrination, as opposed to some of the other indoctrination that goes on. And also, the Catholics don't put up with bullshit. They take your phone. You have to learn your P's and Q's and your grammar and all this kind of stuff. And that's what I just don't understand, that parents don't have the whip hand anymore. Not that you should actually.
Now, let's talk about something else people ignore: classrooms. Reformers pushed phones and constant internet access as the future of education. Instead, classrooms turned into distraction factories. Focus collapsed. Attention spans shrank. Real learning suffered. Now the consequences are impossible to ignore. So Maher asks the obvious question: should the US follow the UK and restrict kids from social media until a certain age?
TV show that has a teenager in it cannot be mischaracterizing this. And the kids they don't listen to their parents, they turn their back on them, they walk out of the room, things that would just get me shut down when I was a kid. And I think it starts with
It sounds simple, but it's a loaded question because it demands accountability. And you can see Schiff getting uncomfortable. Maher doesn't back off. He keeps pressing the same point. Schools are for learning, not endless scrolling. Discipline matters. Focus matters. And right now, the system is clearly out of control.
The reason why Joe Biden is going to beat Donald Trump is because at the end of the day, America is going to want a president who is a decent human being, who doesn't shit on other people, who has some interest in the American people, some interest in something beyond himself.
This all happened before the election. Schiff was confident Democrats would win. He sounded certain. But watch what Maher does next. He slowly chips away at that confidence and starts exposing the illusion.
The Atlantic put out an article last year, and it was called "Separating Sports by Sex Doesn't Make Sense."
Right.
And talked about how we separate sports like the WNBA just because it's just socialization. This is insane.
I agree.
Okay. That's why people vote for Trump. Mm-hmm. Because there's stuff like that on the left that people just go, I know Trump's horrible, but separating sports by sex makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. And if you think it doesn't, you can't leave the country.
That's cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Okay. I'm just giving you the answer to the question you're asking all night long. Why do they vote for Donald Trump? It's not always because they like him. No. It's because stuff like that is kookier.
And here's the twist. Maher was largely right. While many on the left were celebrating early, he saw something deeper. Voters were getting frustrated. People were tired of political extremes. Tired of common sense being replaced by endless culture wars. Some didn't even like Trump. They just felt the other side looked more rigid and disconnected. Maher's message was simple: ignore voters and they'll respond at the ballot box. Then he pushes Schiff to do what most politicians avoid: step outside the comfort zone. Go on Fox News. Because if your ideas are strong, you should be able to defend them anywhere.
For example, I've seen you on TV a lot in the last couple of years. I know everything you know, or that you tell us, about the Russian situation. I don't have a clue what you think about healthcare. I've never heard it. Yeah. I don't know whether you're for Medicare for all, or improve Obamacare, or get a chicken. I don't know what.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what.
Here's what I was telling my colleagues, and particularly these wonderful candidates we had running in the midterms. Don't talk about Russia. You're not going to persuade people to vote Democrat or Republican based on Russia.
But what about Trump?
Now, I get asked about it because, our investigation for the last 2 years was the only investigation into what Russia did.
Right.
And people ask me about it. But what I urge the candidates and what I urge our nominees to talk about is, how are you going to help American people put bread on the table? How are you going to help them provide for a secure retirement in an environment which people don't stay in the same job their whole life, in a job with globalization and automation? How do people get health care? How do they keep health care when they go from job to job? How do we help young people afford college? Those are the things we need to be talking about. We are in the midst of two revolutions right now, either one of which would be phenomenally disruptive. The two put together are just producing this cataclysm of xenophobic populism around the world, and it's the revolution in the global economy through globalization and automation when millions are losing their jobs through no fault of their own. And it's the revolution in communication, which is every bit as significant as the invention of the printing press, but it happened overnight, where lies travel faster than truths, where hate goes viral, and you put those two things together and it is a combustible mix. And addressing those challenges, talking about how in this environment we're going to put people to work, we're going to deal with this yawning gap between rich and poor. We're going to make sure that whether you have one job in the morning and you drive an Uber at night, that you have health care at the end of the day and a retirement at the end of your career. That's, I think, what we need to be talking about.
And I'll let you go, but I see you going on Fox News.
Well, I had some good encouragement from someone very close
Everybody's
to you.
going on Fox News.
But Schiff does what politicians often do. He dodges. Maher asks a direct question. What is your message? Not Trump is bad. Not the usual talking points. What are you actually offering? Because that's the real issue. For years, too much strategy has revolved around opposing one man. But opposition alone isn't a vision. Voters want clarity, direction, a reason to trust you. And if you can't provide that, they tune out.
Spanberger, who before the 24 election said things like, if the party didn't shift to the center, we will get fucking torn apart. And we need to never use the word socialist or socialism ever again. At least the party has a clear choice here, very clear. One wing is saying don't ever use the word socialist again, and one is saying,
I am a democratic
Then Maher shifts to another growing trend, socialism within the party. The question is simple. Why move toward a label that clearly scares moderates? This isn't just ideology, it's strategy. History shows the word socialism triggers backlash. Independents step away. Swing voters get nervous. Maher isn't saying every idea is wrong. He's saying think about real-world consequences.
so how do we decide who's right? Well, it turns out we don't really have to flip a coin. We have the evidence. In 2024, 13 Democrats won. In districts, Trump also won. All moderates. This isn't rocket science. All the left-leaning think tanks have done autopsies on 2024, and they all came up with the same message: move to the center. Even the New York Times, which did so much to promote woke politics, now says the partisans are wrong. Moving to the center is the way to win. And Democrats should recognize the party moved too far left on social issues after Obama.
This isn't a gotcha. It's a warning. Maher believes Democrats, especially voices like Schiff, often choose comfort over clarity. They rely on safe talking points and expect the audience to fill in the gaps. But when the narrative sounds clean and the facts don't, people notice. From double standards to weak strategies, from California's rising costs to distracted classrooms, to risky political messaging, it all points to a deeper problem. And every time the conversation tries to escape, Maher pulls it right back. The message is clear. Stop hiding in safe spaces. Stop avoiding tough questions. Stop assuming voters will just go along. People are tired of vague messaging, political games, and empty promises. You don't have to agree with Maher to understand the signal he's pointing at. Ignore it and you lose the middle. Face it and you might actually win the argument that matters. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like and subscribe for more.